Now you know this room really has a lot of energy. You know, it is a day of mixed emotions because we have just seen 3 years of the worst governance we have ever experienced in the history of St. Lucia. In my lifetime, and I've been around a few years. Once you've passed 50, you've been around for a few years. You agree? Yes. Yes. More or less 60. And looking at our sweet St. Lucia, you know, to be here tonight and to have all our viewers online. You know, sometimes we make such bad decisions in life. Now, I want to show you something because I like to show what I see. You see this man there? How can anybody give up a leader of this class for an embarrassment? Every time PJP opens his mouth, he embarrasses St. Lucia. It is not just the Labour Party that he embarrasses. It is St. Lucia that is embarrassed. I mean, I will not even seek to repeat some of the things that he has said. But St. Lucians, we have a sacred document that every one of us must hold dear in this country, and it is our constitution. Without this constitution, we do not have a country. We do not have a democracy. We have nothing to govern and to live by. It is not politicians that govern. It is the constitution of St. Lucia that determines how politicians ought to govern. And I'm saying this because it is important for us to understand that our democracy is at threat by the callous handling of the affairs of this country by this Labour Party government. And we see what's happening in America, and we see what's happening in Venezuela. Democracy can be threatened when the people stay quiet and accept the eroding of the rules that govern our society. And so, as we reflect, I'm not worried about the upcoming election. I'm worried about the damage that is being done to St. Lucia today. Election must come. Time never stops. And Flambeau must win. So, I'm not concerned about that for now. What I am concerned about is what is being done on a daily basis to this country. Yes. You know, I try sometimes to understand basic things about us. We have a prime minister in this country. And I did a little poll. I asked about 6 people that I met from Castries East. about the Prime Minister. A very basic question. Is the Prime Minister married? No. I ask a very basic question. And most of the answers was, I don't know, I think so, maybe. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a head of a country, a Christian country at that, a country that is supposed to be governed by rules and has a morality that is above the average morality, that nobody I have spoken to can answer me whether the Prime Minister of St. Lucia is married or not. You know, and this was very telling to me. Now, I am not the kind of person who probes into people's personal lives. But let me tell you, every single member of my family has been attacked by the Labour Party. My wife more so than anybody else. My leader, Alan Chasney, I know his wife. I know he has a wife. The whole of St. Lucia knows that he has a wife. Now we have a Prime Minister. I don't know if he have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I don't know if he has a wife or a jabal. You know, and the reason why I raise this, when we were in government under the United Workers' Party, Stevenson King was leader by default through the passing of Sir John. And the conversation with the clergy in St. Lucia was that you could not really preside as Prime Minister and not be married. Is there a different standard in St. Lucia today? Because you see, we need to understand that organizations do not rise above their leaders. Businesses do not rise above their leaders. And countries cannot rise above its leader. The leader is the benchmark. That is why I showed you two pictures. And they don't dislike Alan Chasney because of the complexion of his skin. In fact, they wine and dine with people of his complexion more than they wine and dine with people of their own complexion. In fact, they have given more of St. Lucia to people of his complexion than they have to people of their own complexion. So, every St. Lucian, this is not politics we are talking about. The Constitution does not discriminate on your religion, your race, your ethnicity. It does not. Every St. Lucian is protected by this Constitution. And Alan Chasney has every right that every St. Lucian has. You remember they came with, don't think it was not their intention when the Grenadian Prime Minister came here and said about where you come from. You know what happened? They found out that a certain parliamentarian within the camp of the Labour Party was not born in St. Lucia. So that is why this was not proceeded with. Because yo pa mem sav tout moun a parti yo ko yo fet. So when word started spreading that there were other people outside of Alan Chasney who was not born here, they kill it. So I want you to understand this. And I'm not attacking Philip J. Pierre on his personal life and what he chooses to do with his personal life. That's up to him. But if you are leading this country, don't lead us by double standards. You know, it cannot be that we don't even know where we stand. We don't know how to answer a basic question about our leader. Is that fair to the people of St. Lucia? After 3 years in government, we still don't know how to answer a basic question. Now, I've always told you, we're dealing with serious business. Now, I don't know how I can evaluate labor without using the Labour Party manifesto. Because whether we want to fault ourselves or not, a man ought to be judged by what he has promised and what he has written. So, on the first page that I will highlight, which is page 8 of the manifesto. Now, let me pause to say, according to Newspin, the lie detector test concluded that Philip J. Pierre is a liar. And not just one liar, you know, more than one. In fact, Tim played a couple of statements on Newspin when they did the fact check and the lie detector test determined Philip J. Pierre is a liar. Now, I will use their manifesto to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Philip J. Pierre is a liar. Now, I want you to observe a couple of things. When men will lie about non-issues, can you imagine when they have real issues what they would do? Now let me ask a simple question. Timothy Harris in St. Kitts. They are trying their best for people not to find out what happened at the banks with CIP. If we have done transactions on behalf of St. Lucia, why should we be afraid of people finding out what was done? Now let me hasten to say, nobody has had to resign because of Guy Joseph. Nobody has had to answer their name in court because of Guy Joseph, including Guy Joseph. So, who has done wrong? Everybody who has dealt with Ernest Hiller for some reason or the other have to answer their name somewhere. Whether at West Indies cricket, whether at the High Commission in the UK, and don't talk for Minister of CIP. So, now let me say something here to us. When you are so, they say, show me your friends, and I will tell you who you are. Birds of a feather flock together. So, à présent, you can say, you can resign. But those who are resigning, y'all are resigning too late. And they have more, you know. When we come in to deal with GPH, the board members of SLASPA, Zotkai weapon no hot. When we come to deal with the Banan's land, Mikey Pilgrim, who can weapon now? John Peters, you will answer your name. Well, we ain't even talking about Richard Frederick. And Reno, you will have to answer your name too. Because I want to know how the board made a decision to sell the land to Reno, yet still when the sale was completed, it was on Reno's daughter's name. So Reno, why you didn't want the land on your name? Was it too glaring? Was it too obvious that something was wrong? So I am putting the people of St. Lucia on notice. No permanent secretary has been in trouble because of Guy Joseph. And I served 2 terms in government. Not a single officer in any area that I served, whether it was the board of Wasco, whether it was the board of Slasper, nobody has had to resign or answer their name. Because you know what? My integrity is not determined by the accusations of labor. My integrity is determined by 2 things. The God that I serve and the moral values that was instilled in me by my parents. You grow up in certain places and your parents don't tolerate certain things. And you grow up with a value system that becomes a guide to your conscience for the rest of your life. And so, people of St. Lucia, in the political arena, there will always be accusations. But these accusations must be founded on facts and truth. Where is the truth? I will tell you how far the Labour Party went.
The same way you can't find the money.
The Labour Party, as they came in, invited the World Bank. Now listen to why they invited the World Bank. Because every contract that was issued from the Ministry of Economic Development was issued to local contractors. And they said something was wrong. How no foreign contractor qualified to get a job during the term that Guy Joseph was Minister for Economic Development. I can tell you, the Chinese applied, they tendered on projects. A company in Dominica, not Dominica, St. Vincent, threatened to take us to court, and they did take the matter on, and they lost. So they invited the World Bank, and they said to the World Bank there was corruption. So the World Bank came to St. Lucia, did an investigation for months, and the people at the World Bank said that is the first time in the history of the World Bank that they have investigated a small country like St. Lucia where the money they spend is insignificant. And can you imagine they were investigating, the person they were investigating did not get the contract that he had tendered for. That is the level of desperation on the part of the Labour Party to find something that Guy Joseph has done that is wrong. But I keep on telling them, you cannot find what is not there. So, if there's nothing in the bank on CIP, tell them go to the bank, have a field day. I've told them I always declared to Integrity Commission. And if I lied to Integrity Commission, they had the opportunity to take me to court. And the records at Integrity Commission is still there. So you can go and check the records at Integrity Commission and find out. But you see, my problem is not what Labour Party did, you know. My problem is with us flabbers who believe believe the propaganda, the lies and deception of labor. So, all of us are paying the price. So I want to say to our Flabo family, families have disagreements. Families may separate from each other for a period of time. But Guamun ka toujours do. Boa famille ka plié, I pa ka kase. We are inviting all our Flabos who deserted us to come back home to the United Workers' Party. You try a thing, it didn't work. I know things about Stevenson King that I choose not to say. Stevenson King, one thing I know about Flabo, everybody who is a true Flabo honored, respected, and supported Sir John. There is not a genuine Flabo in this country during the era of Sir John who did not give their overwhelming support to Sir John. And every one of us who knows Stevenson King knows that he never supported Sir John. I'm not giving you that second-hand information. I'm giving you that first-hand information from Stevenson King himself. And ask him. And people can pretend, but ask him. Why when Sir John died and he was Prime Minister, he was not allowed to give a speech? Now, let's go to evaluating the performance of labor. On page 8 of their manifesto, putting you first, here's what it says. Our people have largely been turned into second-class citizens while preferential economic support and favors continue to be given by this UWP government to friends and a selected few. As a party, we support foreign investment as a path to economic development. However, we believe, and as we have emphasized over the years, that it is vital that St. Lucians be part of the wealth creation of this country by putting you first. Now, who is Galaxy? Now, there used to be a gas station in Grosile, in Bois d'Orange, they call Galaxy. Y'all remember that? I assume that was a local business. But the Galaxy we're talking about is not the Galaxy gas station. The Galaxy is a Chinese established company. Now watch the hypocrisy of labor. They tell you Alan brought Galaxy to St. Lucia. We negotiated with Galaxy, 700 passports. You stop all projects that St. Lucians were doing. You didn't stop Galaxy. You give them 7,000 instead of 700. Why? But your first page, Mr. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, the lie detector test has determined you are a liar. Because you took GPH and you gave them SLASPA. SLASPA was one of the most profitable entities established by the government of the United Workers' Party under Sir John. SLASPA has never failed us. And you heard from Dominic, from making $6.50 on every passenger that landed in St. Lucia on a cruise ship. You're now making $1. Now you saw the last cruise ship that was there. If they had 2,000 people, St. Lucia get $2,000 and GPH gets 10, no, yes, 2 5s, 10, 2,000. So they get 10,000. What has GPH done since they started collecting the revenue? So you see what is happening. Now I want to give you more, Here's what they say on the housing. Consideration will be given to a mix of housing types to maximize the development cost per unit. Single detached units, townhouses, duplexes, quadruplexes, low-rise apartment buildings for freehold and subsidized housing for rent based on tenants' income levels. And if you want to see what low-rise and high-rise buildings are, they have 4 of them in Dennery. That is the only achievement of Labour Party in housing. You remember Richard Frederick and Joachim Henry stood when they built a little house in Sarot for a gentleman, and you need to go and see the house. The bird move out of the house already. You know kaila pan la poti pan fidati pada yada mi say move. Yeah. Now, you remember they said they were building a high-rise building in cul-de-sac. And even the gas station attendant. And they gave a date to start, Have they started? Now, I want to say this to us. Listen to me. Talk is not cheap these days, The kind of money you have to pay Flow and Digicel. But these fellas talks, they say even gas station attendants would be able to afford. And look at what they built in Dennery. And then the Prime Minister says, well, these high-rise buildings are not for people. It is for the poorest of the poor. So the poor people of St. Lucia are not people, according to the Labour Party. Okay? So I want to move on quickly because the digital economy, and they spoke about the digital economy, complete the implementation of all e-government services which started under the Labour government. Let me tell you, the Labour Party government was not doing anything in e-government. It was the United Workers' Party under Alan Shasley that started the process of e-governance. For that matter, the program that we launched, where you could now pay your driver's license online, you could register your vehicle, you could do all of these things. They have stopped the program. That is what they have done. They have stopped it. Now, how can Philip J. Pierre, as Prime Minister, now here's what they said on page 9. In collaboration with the private sector, transfer some government fixed assets to the private sector with the intention of converting government loan payments into lease rental payments to reduce the government debt obligations. So they want to take state assets, give it to selected private sector people, and then convert it into payments so that they can reduce the debt of government. Yet still, the debt of government for this last year grew by 8.8%, while the economy only grew by 2.2%. So the debt is growing 4 times the rate at which the economy is growing. So, I want us to understand, when you put boys to do men's work, that is what. So, he said he was going to make everything available to St. Lucians because we were not giving St. Lucian. So how did the pots end up with GPH? And why St. Jude Hospital, that was being built by local contractors, local laborers, today I am hearing there are more than 100 imported workers on the project of St. Jude. Now listen to this, and I want you to understand. Why is it you mean a laborer, an unskilled worker, you have to bring from outside? And my political leader was asking me a question. He said, is the minimum wage applicable to these imported workers? Or are they paying them below the minimum wage? So now they put the minimum wage at $6.50. So they have allowed, and you know they had put laborers. Now I have laborers working for me, and I pay them $70 and $80 a day. That is already above the minimum wage. The Labour Party has allowed the contractor, and we don't know for sure who the contractor is. We are hearing his Renault, we are hearing his this Saudi Arabian company. We don't know which one is in charge. Is it lies and propaganda? That is how the Labour Party operates. So foreign workers are building St. Jude, while so many people in Viewfort sitting on the block and cannot find a job in the south. Philip J. Pierre, there's more you know. Why is the West Coast Road being built by Namalco, a Trinidadian company? When this road was first built back in the early 80s, it was built by a local construction company, C.O. Williams. To repair the road now, under Stevenson King, local contractors did no local contractor even qualified to tender on the project. Now let me tell you something. Tell them this is where Guy Joseph is the master. If Guy Joseph was in charge, a local contractor would have qualified to tender on that job. Because this is the government that puts our local people first. The only government in this country who has advanced the cause of St. Lucians is the United Workers' Party, who built the middle class in this country. It was Sir John in his time that built the middle class in this country. And it had been devastated by the Labour Party. And Alan Chasney came back. And when we reduced VAT from 15% to 12.5%, we saw a number of small local businesses re-emerging in the economy of St. Lucia. You know, here's what they say. They talk about they will expand broadband services. When UWP was in government, with the Taiwanese, we were putting broadband services, internet services in all parks and public buildings. And we had started it in a number of areas for free. What has happened? Our internet is the worst that it has ever been in the history of this country. Lord Joel, stop lapa mem passe ou sa. Can you imagine that? We did not get hit by the storm and no internet, no phones. It was chaos. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we had really gotten hit by the hurricane? What communication would have been in this country? You know, there's so much to judge these fellas on. Now, they said on page 9, they were going to revamp CIP. So, I want us to understand. Of course, they revamp it. They revamp it for Galaxy. They revamp it for Ernest Hille. They revamp it for Thaddeus Antoine. And what's the CEO's name? McLeod. You think running to Washington will save you? I've never had to bring my wife anywhere to plead for me. When I travel with my wife, we go on a holiday to enjoy ourselves. But you go and mess up yourself, and you bring in the poor lady up there to plead on your behalf. Let me tell you something. C'est mouna, moi toujours dit what you wish for somebody that they don't deserve, it will come back to you. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. Now, moi sabo wash. I can send stones because I am living in no glass house. So I'm sending stones tonight. Ekmape. I'm not afraid. Because y'all can't find nothing. You know why? Because today, and we are going to hear in due course, how many lawyers firms in St. Lucia? You see the Bar Association, quiet. It's Flabo alone that have to talk. Because y'all know what's going on. But you see, they have a little grease hand passing. So some people don't want to talk. But let me tell you, money does not disappear. Money can always be traced. And if I had all what they say I took, they would have been able to trace it. So I want the law firms to know, when your names will be called, don't come and look for UWP to help you. We fight in the battle for St. Lucia. So, over 400 transactions in the bank in America below the stipulated price. You think the lawyers that was selling it didn't know it was below the stipulated price? So y'all sell it below price, and now y'all have to answer y'all name. Is Flabo y'all want to blame? So, Monsieur Hille, now let me tell you something about people. When a man can make a bubble for 5,000 pounds, what do you think he will do for 5 million US? When a lawyer can come on TV and tell you you can take somebody's ticket and go and buy something at Point Seraphine duty free, and it's okay, what do you think he will do when he see the kind of US dollars that in CIP? But tato, Is guy you all want? Your turn come in. Your turn come in, you know. Because you know what? At the end of the day, we have to understand. This country does not belong to any individual or any group. This country belongs to all of us. And all of us. So you want to revamp CIP? Well, why did the secretary resign? Madam Secretary, it's too late. It's too late. And the others who are there, while you all still have a chance. Today you hear in London is still chairman. Next day, nobody don't know if he's chair or if he's not chair. Why? Maybe he's a bench. He can't be the table. The table too high. Is it a bench or a stool he is? Not the chair. Or the table. Now, you know, I want us to understand. You know, on page 11, here's what Labour Party said. They are going to increase the number of rooms for hotels by 600. Now, hear that. I tell these people already, not all of us are stupid. Philip JPS said before the election, the only prime minister who believed that tourists will go back to where it was is Alan Chasley. Why you want to build more hotel rooms? Huh? We already have hotel rooms that empty. You said tourism will never get back to where it was. Yet still you want to go and build more hotel rooms. The man does not even believe what he is saying. When a man cannot believe what he is saying and other people believe him, what does that make the other people? You know, there's so much. But my political leader must address you. And I want to say to us, the Labour Party has failed us miserably. You know, no, they have failed St. Lucia. You promised the fishermen. 15, okay. You promised the fishermen you are going to remove $1.50 for them on the fuel because udi asulame panshime. So where they passing to sell the fish? I assume it's on the sea they selling the fish. But here's the wickedness of labor. So I don't know, have they removed the $1.50? But here's what they did. They added $4 on every gallon of fuel. So when they remove the $1.50, they still have an advantage of $2.50 on the fishermen. And then they put the 2.5%. Now let me tell you. You see this prime minister? This prime minister is just wicked to the core. Because no man, I mean, I heard Champagne and I heard Dominic, but I must repeat. How can the prime minister sit in cabinet with his cabinet colleagues and give away our port for 40 years? And you know in their manifesto, they have that they will develop the port in Vieux-Fort. Now, I don't want you to say I tell you things and I can prove it, you know. On page 12, it says, continue plans for a cruise port in Viewport and the enhancement of the Castries cruise port. It is more than a year the UWP and the people of St. Lucia have been calling on the Philip J. Pierre administration to tell the people of St. Lucia what is the arrangement with GPH. Because my information says that you cannot develop the port in Viewport. So you see why, Mr. Prime Minister, the lie detector test determined again. That's another lie. You see, because we need to understand. Look at another thing they said. They said they are going to pay facility fees for children. Ask any teacher, any principal, have they ever received the allocation of the total amount of facility fees for any school? Do you know what we have been reduced to in St. Lucia? Parents in primary school have to give their children a roll of toilet paper under the Labour Party government. Can you believe that St. Lucia has reached to a stage where our schools cannot even provide the basic needs of a roll of toilet paper for students to go to a toilet? Can you imagine? Can you imagine that we are at a stage that children who have to write exams at the end of the school term have to pay for the paper to print the exam on? How much, Mr. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, how much more you think you can do to the people of St. Lucia to be satisfied? How can? And I know some parents can afford to buy the roll of toilet paper for their children. But you would not believe that there are some parents who cannot afford to buy a roll of toilet paper. And you know what is happening in the schools? The children have to keep their toilet paper zipped in their bags. C'est de gwesa nou ive Saint Lucien baleba. Moun ka goume pou sik pièce kote pa manche sik an la terre passe Saint Lucien. Only Labour Party can produce these things. Only Labour Party can create a shortage where there is no shortage. I cannot understand that. Philip J. Pierre must be a special man to be able to create a shortage where no shortage exists. Here's what they said also. They said they are going to build climate resilient housing on page 24. Now, Mavle just do sa. Mavle mutwo sa. Page 24 of the manifesto. They said they will build climate resilient housing. Integrate land use planning strategies into the development of climate resilient housing. Yet still the United Workers' Party was building a climate resilient hospital in Viewport. They stopped it. Why would you stop a climate resilient hospital? And yet still, you take in over $260 million. And my information on the hospital is the workers who are there don't know what to do. The same things we said that was the problem. So they had a cemetery where they were dumping concrete in Viewfort. Well, it's now they're dumping concrete in Viewfort. Because they are breaking more walls now in the hospital than they are building walls. $260 million is what they are spending on the hospital. Now you see Mr. John Peters. Mr. John Peters, it could be 20 years from now, you will answer. You in charge of housing now, and you negotiate a big contract for your friend in Trinidad NH to build the most expensive building in St. Lucia. But Mr. Peters, your time is coming. Your time is coming. Because you cannot come from Trinidad and come and do that kind of wickedness to the people of St. Lucia. We, the people of St. Lucia, and whether I am in the politics of the United Workers' Party or I am out of the politics of the United Workers' Party, we are going to hold you all accountable as citizens of this country. You know, it cannot be right. And now, Mr. Richard Frederick, you run back to Fresh Start to try and rescue you. Now, I have my issues with Fresh Start. If I had my way, and I'm placing it on record, I have a problem with Fresh Start going and bail out Richard Frederick and the Labour Party on the housing project. And I put it on the record tonight. If Guy Joseph was the shareholder that they said, Fresh Start would never do a day's work for Richard Frederick. But as a dog turns around and eats its vomit, so Richard Frederick has turned around to eat his own vomit and run to Fresh Start to bail him out of Shock and Talvan. You see, Flabos, we must stop believing the lies and the propaganda of the St. Lucia Labour Party. It is time to make it right. And we must make it right for St. Lucia. I invite all Flabos, those who did not vote the last election, those who left us and tried the Labour Party. I am inviting everyone back home to the United Workers' Party. And I'm not inviting you just to be part of the United Workers' Party. I am inviting you back because St. Lucia needs you. St. Lucia needs me and St. Lucia needs you. All of us together. We must save our St. Lucia. My last point is, Philip J. Pierre has successfully managed this country to make $1 worth 50 cents. Philip J. Pierre, si aba Alan Chasney, le nou te di ching ching ching. Le ou te ni $1, ite vo $1. about Labour Party, about Philip J. Pierre, $1 is worth less than 50 cents today. Or dia force ou ka hende. Après payer plus petit, plus cher. And I am saying, we can talk our politics. We can give Pecon. But St. Lucia is in trouble. St. Lucia must be rescued. And the only hope for this country is Alan Chasney and the United Workers' Party. Thank you.